Progressing on a new piece of content is a concept that can seem overwhelming at first. Depending on your take on it, it can end up being either a nightmare or an amazing journey. The aim of this video is to make it easier for it to be the latter. I'm Madsin, and this is Healer's Toolkit. First, this isn't meant to be an in-depth guide for each healer jobs. Those will come in due time. Instead, this is more of a general view of how I personally approach the concept of progression rating. With that said, let's get into the meat of the subject. Fights in Final Fantasy XIV are extremely consistent in the way they play out, with minor exceptions. In order to be as effective and consistent as possible, you'd want to create a sort of mental timeline of the events that take place in the fight. Next, you'll want to map out what you can bring to the table in order to deal with what the boss throws at you. On top of regular DPS and healing GCDs, scholars will have to map out things like shields, spreads, fairy tethers, fairy buffs, stacks usage, use of dissipation, etc. White mages would want to plan out things like asylum placement, thin air, the first use of lucid dreaming for aggro management, usage of Benediction to line up with living dead / ungang, etc. Astrologians will want to map out things like star timings, best use of collective unconscious, moments of the fight where they can get the most out of a crowd spread, and shields if you use the Noct stance. You'll also want to take into consideration your own teammates' tools. Every single jobs in the game have something they can bring to the table, and all of it should also be exploited to its full potential. This even includes cooldowns that are often overlooked like Troubadour or Mana Shift. Those can also be mapped out and should be used as often as possible. Once this is done, you'll be able to map out everything in that mental timeline of yours. Again, communication and synergy here are key. It is critical to communicate changes and eventual shift in strategy that could make the fight easier and more consistent. When first encountering a mechanic, you'll want to over-prepare for it at first. Top priority during progression rating is to gather as much information as possible with each pull to make the most out of your rating time. In dire situations, dropping DPS completely to try and salvage a fight just to see that one extra mechanic can go a long way in shortening the time needed to solve a fight. That being said, it is also very important to keep a critical view on your and your group's playstime. You need to recognize where your mitigation and or healing is useless. Your resources are precious, and if something isn't absolutely needed to solve a mechanic, shifting cooldown usage around or even dropping something completely is flat out better than keeping it around, just for the sake of keeping it. The more GCDs you can shift to contribute to DPS, the better. Take this for example. As of right now, I am currently progging on the ultimate Ultima encounter. At first, I was spreading an Adloquium before battle to suck the line away Garuda does within the first 10 seconds of the fight. However, after reaching the friction part of the fight, I realized that it'd be a lot more beneficial to use it there, seeing that a lot of raid damage is coming out in rapid succession. Since basically no raid damage is coming out after the line away at the beginning, I simply told my co-healer that I'd open with a sucker, using my spread Adloquium during frictions instead. And that to make her for the weaker shield, she should use Medicare to pre-pull to get everyone back to full before Mr. Shriek comes out without having to sacrifice GCDs on healing. It worked like a charm, made the battle more consistent, and we've been doing that ever since. To recapitulate, for a smooth progression you'll need to start a mental timeline, recognize the cooldowns you need to map out for your job, recognize the cooldowns provided by a raid group that can be mapped out as well, over-prepare for mechanics at first, and finally, keep a critical view on the way your group handles things in order to manage your resources better and gradually shift more GCDs to contribute to the DPS. That's pretty much gonna be it for this episode of Healer's Toolkit. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and share it. If you have any feedback to provide or suggestions as to which healer subject I could tackle next, you can leave a comment below. Till next time, thanks for watching.